Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to have a fascinating discussion. Looking forward to jewelry trends. I'll be introducing you in a moment to Paola and to Jennifer. But beforehand, I would just like to show you a video showing the Trend Book 2021 to give you a taster of the outlook for jewelry design trends. So here is the video. Thank you so much. So I'd now like to introduce everybody to the two speakers today. So starting off with Jennifer Heebner of jenniferheebner.com, a very well-known US jewelry editor and a contributor to Rappaport magazine. Hello, Jennifer. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing, David?
I'm fine. So nice to have you with us today.
Yeah, pleasure.
Good. I'd also like to introduce Paola De Luca. I'm sure you all know Paola, very well-known jewelry analyst and trend forecaster and creative director who has given so many talks to jewelry audiences around the world. Welcome, Paola.
Thank you, David and Jennifer, for having me today. Thank you very much.
So we're going to kick off with Jennifer's presentation, which will also encompass US sales during the coronavirus pandemic, and we'll touch upon trends in basic jewelry. So it'll be a really interesting presentation, and then we'll go on to Paola's presentation after that. But I'd now like to hand over to Jennifer Heebner.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me, David and Paola. This is the start of my presentation. I'm coming to you live from my mother-in-law's living room where I've been in quarantine with my husband and our dogs since February or March. That was the last time I ventured out into the world. And during that time, I've been interviewing a lot of retailers, a lot of designers, just to, find out what's happening, how sales have been. And in the month of April, I surveyed all of my retail readers to see how things had been since March. And not surprisingly, this was the feedback, I got from them. I asked them, how was your business this month over last month? 85% of them said business was down. So not a surprise. 12% said it was flat. And interestingly, about 4% said it had increased for them. So I think that's really telling, and it speaks to the captive audience that we've had during the lockdown. So everybody's been at home, and as long as you've been connecting with your clients, then sales did happen, and that's what this slide shows. So next question I asked them, if your sales are up, how much are sales up by? So 17% of them said that sales were up by 10%, which is pretty remarkable, I think. And I also asked them, have you sold any jewelry this month? And almost 29% said no, but almost 72% said yes. So that speaks to the power of continually connecting with your customers, even while, the world has been at home. And the example I have here, Paola, you might want to mute your microphone. I'm getting a little feedback. There you go. Okay, thank you. The example I have here are a pair of earrings from Lauren Nicole. Now, Lauren is a designer, and I did interview her recently. And this is an example of one of the things that she's been selling. So she's a designer, not a retailer, but she's also had, really tremendous sales. Now, the bright spots during the lockdown, for those where sales did occur, I asked folks, where did the sales happen? So 12% said in store. So in the United States, obviously a huge country, and the lockdown was different in each state. So New York immediately went into lockdown, the Seattle area, that lockdown. The middle, a lot of the other states, it was very different, and things remained open for a lot longer. So sales did happen for, some folks, a small percentage in stores because of the different regulations state by state. Almost 21% said sales happen through a shoppable website, which everyone should have at this point in time, but not everybody does still, just to remain competitive in the market that the world that we live in now. 7% said some sales happen through an email newsletter. 18% said they kept in touch with clients by phone call and they made some sales that way. 13% said Instagram posts. Now, that should be a lot higher. I know if I surveyed just jewelry designers, that number would be a lot higher. Retailers are still a little slow to, get excited about Instagram and really master the opportunities that are available there, and that you can sell a lot through Instagram, but retailers are a little slower to that than the designers. So and then we move on to another 14% said sales happen by text, and then other 16%. So some of those other replies included, they offered discounts and that brought in some sales. They offered free shipping, and some clients bought gift cards just to support their favorite jewelers during this difficult time, and they can make sales in the future with those. So now we're moving into the U.S. economic indicators. So I pulled all stats on the recent economic indicators for end of Q1 into Q2, actually Q1 and Q2. So the first one is, I didn't identify that. That's great. I think this is the jobs rate. I'm sorry, I didn't identify this one. I think, you know what, I'm going to have to scroll on. I'm so sorry, I didn't identify this one. Wait a minute. This is the jobs rate. Okay, you're not getting the visual. I'm sorry, it's just available on my side. So this slide is for durable goods, manufacturer shipments, inventories, and orders for 2020 for February, March, April, and May. So this is inventory for all U.S. retailers across the board, every category. So inventory was up a little bit, just a tiny bit in February. In March, you could see that inventories plummeted. So nobody was ordering anything because we're just going into Corona times and the lockdowns. April, it was also, down by a lot, not quite as much as March. And then into May, we see inventories rose. So that's optimistic. That's a sign that, retailers were starting to get, some orders. They were hearing from clients. So some sales started, coming back in. Businesses were ordering things. So that's a great sign for the economy. And going into this, we had the United States has had a very healthy economy up until Corona hit. So the next slide, this is new residential construction. And that is an important indicator for the United States. We've got obviously a big country, and when times are booming, when the economy is booming, there's a lot of construction happening. So the first in February, new construction was down just a tiny bit, under 1%. In March, it dropped more to almost 7%. April, huge, almost 27% drop in new construction. But then May, things start to turn around already. So the people started building a little bit. It's, up 4% for new construction. So that's a good sign, considering how much everybody was affected by this. I think that's a really healthy sign that it turned around that quickly, or starting to at least. Now, this is the U.S. unemployment rate. So May, really high. We haven't seen these numbers since the 80s, I believe the research has said. And then into April, almost 15% unemployment rate. We don't see that here in the United States. So that's huge. In March, the unemployment rate went to almost 4.5%, so dramatically better than April. And oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm reading these backwards. Sorry. February, 3.5%. March, 4.4%. Then we go into April and May. So, we start off the year, February and March, those are really good numbers for unemployment. April, obviously terrible. We haven't seen that in a long, long time in this country. And then May, it drops again, but not quite as much. So again, I'm seeing this as very promising, that we're already starting to turn around. Okay, this next slide, this is monthly retail sales, and this is across every industry. So February, we're down by, almost 0.5%. March, you're down almost 9%. So but then in April, sales go up. Monthly retail sales go up by almost 15%. So that's pretty good. I see this is really strong. And then May, retail sales, this is across the board, not just jewelry only. Sales go up almost 18%. So I think this speaks, these numbers, while some of the March, April numbers are scary, this speaks to the strength of the U.S. economy, and that we're really, we're well positioned for a healthy rebound. All right, now we get into just estimated jewelry only, U.S. jewelry only store sales. So stores that only sell fine jewelry. Now, this is based on research from the Census Bureau, and it's also from my friend Adan Golan he does research, Adan Golan. So in December 2019, December is always the biggest month for jewelry sales. Obviously, fourth quarter, Christmas, Hanukkah is in there. So we had 6 billion in sales for a jewelry only store. So that's a typical number. That's strong, healthy sales for that month. January numbers always drop, just under 2 billion. February, we see an uptick, a little over 2.5 billion, and that's because of Valentine's Day. March, it drops again, not too many gifting occasions, and plus we're going into Corona times. April, that's only $500 million. That's incredible. We haven't seen numbers that low in decades. So that's really remarkable to see. Jewelry only store sales drop that much to $500 million in April. Now in May, there's quite an uptick because we're up to 1.5 billion. So that's better. That's obviously where we've already started the correction, the turnaround. This is U.S. consumer confidence, and this is from the Conference Board. It's an independent agency, and they track consumers' confidence in the economy. So March, it was pretty high. April and May, almost even. It definitely had dropped. And then in June, it starts to rise. So that says, it gives us a peek into the mindset of U.S. consumers that, it was tough in April and May, but they're optimistic about the future. And that means they're optimistic about sales, about their own futures, their jobs, security. So it's good that we're seeing that correction. Now, this next slide, this is for U.S. CEO consumer confidence, also from the Conference Board. So obviously, CEOs in the first quarter, they were not optimistic. It had dropped. Their confidence in business had dropped significantly. But quarter two, it had risen significantly. So they were affected, obviously, in Q1, but Q2, they're really optimistic about the future and about the future of their businesses. This last slide on indicators is U.S. gross domestic product. Now, this is important because two back-to-back periods of decline indicate a recession. So right now, okay, so Q4 2019, we were up. Q1, we were down 5%. Growth contracted by 5%. Now, I'm waiting for Q2. That's going to be a really, it's really going to be an important indicator for the rest of our recovery. We don't get those numbers out of the government until July 30th, but it will be telling. If it contracts again, maybe it won't contract as much. The other indicators seem to say that maybe the contraction won't be as significant, but people get scared when, if we see negative numbers again, that means we're officially in a recession. And that may affect people's mindsets and they may hold back a little bit. But, up to this point, all the other indicators show that we're turning around. Sales are turning around, consumer confidence is turning around. So it could be, it's going to be important and, interesting to see when those numbers come out. Now I'm going to move into Neocore basics. So throughout the lockdown, obviously we've all been home. So I've been doing nothing but interviewing people, finding out what designers are making, finding out about retail sales. And the basics, Paola asked me to talk about the new basics. So hoops are still very hot. I mean, it's just the easiest style. Everybody wears them, but we've seen, more interesting hoops. And this is from last year couture. There were a lot of very cool hoops, sideways set hoops. An example is the Nack Armstrong and Sorolina hoops that you see here. And that coincides and goes very well with the athleisure trend that's still going strong in America. Everybody dresses very casually here. So hoops speak to that. And a lot of designers continue to innovate with really refreshing, clever takes on the hoop. And these are some examples of those. The first ones are by Mizuki, have pearls, then center one, Sorolina, and the last pair, Nack Armstrong. The new next category in the new core, new basics, color. Color is so strong. It's really having a moment. And by color, obviously, I mean colored stones, but it also speaks to enamel. Enamel has been so hot for the past several years, and it continues to play a prominent role in many collections. Rough gemstones is another interesting way to present the consumer with a fresh new look. The bracelet is by Deborah Navarro, and it's all rough gemstones. It's absolutely stunning in person, but it's got a great backstory to it. The second piece is, very simple, 22 karat gold with colored stones and enamel from Agaro. Salim Muzanar, enamel and gemstones again. And then the last picture we see is from Emily P. Wheeler and her ombre colored stone bands. So these are all just examples of some of the ways that color is playing out in the market, new designs from jewelry designers. And it's, it's going to continue to be very, very strong. People want to be happy. Color offers them a pick-me-up, and it's just a fun way to express yourself through enamel, through colored stones. Designers continue to play and experiment. So the next category is charms, sweet, messages, sweet motifs, personalized pieces, especially now, Corona times, we're all home, we're all, everybody feels maybe a little wounded, a little scared. So personalized pieces have been selling well throughout the pandemic. And this is just across the board. And these are some examples. So acanthus is the hearts have been very strong for the past year, and they continue to be. The bracelets here by Alexis Sidara. She will customize, you know, many messages. So this is a more irreverent message, but, you know, she does well with this and customizing pieces. Polly Wales and her locket, her very organic, you know, design aesthetic, it's just really resonates with people. It's beautiful, it's innovative, it's, you know, it's uniquely hers. And then we go into from Jade Trowell, another personalized piece with diamonds. It has a very vintage feel to it. And these are all examples of the types of pieces that have been moving well during the pandemic. And I think are going to continue because we're all feeling, you know, we're all home and feeling closer to our families. Hopefully everyone's feeling closer to the families. I know some friends who want to get out of the house, but this is a great category that's going to continue to sell well and speak to people's, you know, emotions right now. Paola, we lost you. Okay. Next trend. This has been trending for, you know, for a couple years. We've seen a lot more gypsy rings, and I'm wearing one myself. I bought this like 10 years ago from an estate case, and I think this speaks to the love of vintage. You go on Instagram and you see so many different individuals selling vintage jewelry. It's amazing. The whole vintage category has really been uplifted in the past 3 years. And then you see that reflected in what modern day jewelry designers are turning out. So we have a first ring is Brent Neal with diamonds. She does a lot of gypsy inspired rings. Another one from Grace Lee. And the last series, the big stack, is from Retrouvaille. So these are an example of sub designers who have been really inspired by the vintage category and all the wonderful pieces we see on Instagram from purveyors of estate jewelry. So it's coming into play in the new jewelry category for sure. Okay, pearls. Pearls, if you know me, you know pearls are one of my favorites. And full disclosure, I do work part-time for the Culture Pearl Association of America. I work for them because they know that I have loved pearls forever. So my spending habit on pearls has landed me a job helping to promote the industry that I love. But there's just no doubt that pearls have a very strong place in the market and continue to. Upwards in the past like 5 to 7 years, pearls have played such a prominent role on fashion runways. They're all over couture runways. Design houses, not just Chanel, but many other design houses have been featuring pearls either in jewelry or as accents on clothes and fashion. So they've had a lot of visibility, and that has inspired consumers to fall in love with them again. And we're not just talking Barbara Bush bland white strand of pearls. Pearls, they have been my favorite category because I love the luster, the beauty and the backstory of the pearls, but you have to be so creative when you're working with pearls. And that to me has always been very exciting because everyone views it as this very bland, staid category, but you have to be super creative to make a winning modern day design. And the examples here, we've got earrings from Baggins. That company's based in LA, and they have done a lot with baby Akoya pearls. And that's an example of a very, fresh take on a pearl hoop. And on Akoya pearls, the center piece is an ombre strand necklace, freshwater pearls from Alico Pearl. The colors that are coming out of China with the freshwater pearls are absolutely stunning. And then the last image are new earrings from Mizuki. And I think these are just fantastic. So if you have a bold style, people are going to love these. It's just so different. It's so unexpected for the pearl category. And I had to sneak in one more slide from Alico. Alico is an importer. They sell a lot of loose, but they do some finished. They're the exclusive importer of these mosaic or maca-e pearls from Asia. They're the only company that carries them in the United States, and they're just fascinating. They're little micro mosaics made onto largely South Sea and Tahitian pearls. They use paint They use 24 karat gold leaf. They use abalone shell tiles. I mean, it's just amazing. And we've seen, they've been on the market for the past 3 to 4 years in this country. Alico has been importing them. And we see designers like Deirdre Featherstone setting them into her very high-end finished platinum designs. We see Erica Courtney working with them in her finished designs. And then other designers starting to carry them too. Very fresh look for pearls. Okay. And then as far as what's selling in the natural diamond lab grown category in the Neocore, you know, natural diamonds, they're mine diamonds, I should say. I mean, that's always going to be the bulk of what we're seeing. But lab grown diamonds, they're, you know, they do have a slow but steady growth rate. We're seeing it in some very small percentage, but like a designer like Karen Karch, this is the ring that you see on the screen. She ventured into rose cut lab growns about 2 years ago, and this is available in her, she's calling it her Karen Karch Wolf collection. So she makes a very specific look available to her clients, rose cut lab growns. And, you know, she's had some success with that. And then the piece on the right, that's a bracelet from Clean Origin. That's an online company. A lot of lab grown companies are online only. Very slowly, you see some lab grown diamonds making their way into retail stores. But it's just, you know, it's another option. Some, you know, traditionalists feel a little threatened by this category, but as long as we're keeping the consumer's discretionary dollars in our jewelry category, then it's a good thing. So they can make up their own minds. Pricing is, you know, a little all over the place right now. Obviously, lab growns are a lot less expensive than mine diamonds, but I think it's just great to offer the consumer, you know, another look, another option. Now, overall at retail, lab growns are pretty limited for the moment, but in stores, but the market is growing. You know, I talked to retailers, the Clay Pot, which just announced they're closing their store, unfortunately, but they have been an early adopter, and they offered lab grown engagement rings right next to cases of mine diamond engagement rings in their stores because their consumers were asking for them. So a lot of the lab growns, they're being pulled into stores on the request of consumers. And the more the word gets out about them, the more we're going to see them in stores. And I just have to say, you know, in JCK Las Vegas, they debuted a lab grown diamond section in 2018. They had 29 exhibitors at that time. And then the next year, they had 63 exhibitors. So that's huge. And I interviewed many of the dealers who exhibited in that section, and many of them came from the mine diamond industry. So they're aware that consumers are curious, they're asking about them, so they want to give them a lab grown option. So it's not going away. I think, you know, it has a place. It could be in fashion. Obviously, De Beers has its Lightbox category, and that they've made that clear. It's only going to be fashion jewelry, not in bridal. But again, as long as we keep the consumer's discretionary dollars in jewelry, if they want lab grown, you know, give them the option. So that's kind of what I've been seeing in the market. Okay.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. That was really interesting presentation. Great to see that food for an uptick in the recovery of the market, the rebound that you're identifying there. That's very heartening, and also fascinating to see those trends that you've highlighted. Which I'll summarize the takeaways a little bit later after the next presentation by Paola. But I just firstly want to let everybody know that the next webinar by TRENDVISION will take place on Monday, the 3rd of August, and the theme is multi-rooted. So now we're going to move on to Paola De Luca's presentation, looking at Neocore for the years ahead. Paola, over to you.
Well, thank you, David, and thank you, Jennifer. Sorry, I'm having some technical problem today. My connection is not great. We're live. And so if I'm going to just disappear, stay tuned, because hopefully within a few seconds I'll be back. So sorry if I'm jumping on and off. Well, you know, I'm pleased that Jennifer started with a wonderful overview on the economic facts. from the US. As TRENDVISION, we are devoted and dedicating in really exploring and researching what's happening around. Because when we talk about trends, it's not just about jewelry designs and silhouettes, but really focusing and exploring social cultural changes and how the economy and everything is around is impacting our lifestyle and therefore the market. So the world of luxury, how we read it, is constantly changing, and digitalization, globalization, individual value, and evolving society is changing our lifestyle. So we are very serious as TRENDVISION to focus on these changes, and we are taking this time together with you guys to really make it a strategic time to focus on our businesses, design, and brand development. So today we'll be focusing on what we have named Optiminimal, which obviously is a combination of optimization, of minimalism, and the concept of what is the core. Core meaning the core of our business, or the basic. Jennifer gave an overview on what's happening today in the US market. We are giving an overview of what's happening in terms of directional product on an international level, which includes the United States, but also, of course, Europe, North and South of Europe, Far East, China, India, and of course, South America, and so on. So we are really monitoring constantly both designers, manufacturers, and brands. This is very important. One important element, talking about trends, it's very important, referring back to what Jennifer said, that 24% of millennials purchased online during the lockdown, followed by Gen Z, which only purchased 17%, so less compared to the millennial. And the winning generation really bought, very interesting segment, is the Gen Xers, being the 65 to 1980 born. These people were like purchased 26, they were like 26% of purchases done online. This is a very interesting number, because I'd like this time to really focus on consumer cluster, not even though millennial and Gen Z, they are the majority of the segment of purchasing right now. They are the largest segment, but Gen X is growing online. And so it's very important to keep all these consumer cluster under control. So going next, today we are basically touching on redesigning Neocore. Really starting with this like, what is core? Well, Philip Kohler in the 1967, he wrote a book, Marketing Management, called The Three Levels of a Product. So this is something that I want to really focus together with us today, and really, because we are now exploring the present and future. Now, even before pandemic, the concept of core product is being evolving. And from now to this upcoming season, the whole concept of basic needs to be evolved, because priorities and consumers have changed their behaviors. So they're pretending, they're expecting not only different product, but also a different, let's call it augmented product, the way products are presented, sold, and promoted online. So the three level, let's start from really going into what is the definition of core. So the core product is defined as the benefit of the product brings to the consumer. So by core, we mean the function of the product itself. In this particular case, we're talking about jewelry. So, of course, jewelry, we have to face with the numbers that Jennifer, highlighted in terms of construction, economy, jobs. They were very interesting, somewhat expected. I have to say they are more optimistic than negative compared to what's happening. But basically, jewelry are not a prime necessity. Therefore, jewelry today, they are changing also their meaning and value, and the concept of core, meaning a necessary object to wear, is changing also its conception, the way they are. The second one is the actual product, meaning the design, the color, the shape of the product itself, it's changing. So necessary jewelry, they are not necessarily fancy, and minimalism and linear design are going to be more and more prominent. We're going to see in details shortly. But the very essence of the future, of present and future, is the concept of augmented product, which later it's basically also associated to everything that goes with the product itself. So when we're talking about trends and forecasting, we are not only associated to the basic of the core product, which also called prior to pandemic, also in general, commodity product. Commodity product, we are suffering, and they will be suffering even more. The concept of commodity is evolving not only into basic and core, but the core product itself is becoming more sophisticated as consumers are becoming more and more savvy, and not only they are expecting from product and material and combinations, but they are also expecting more from the way this product is being presented, is promoted, the association to this product, the service itself, and of course the communication. So let's go to this slide, which I think is very important, is very interesting. The competition, so augmented product and core product, is about consumer perception. So consumer perception of a product that could be basic, as simple as a hoop. Even hoops are evolving in terms of design, they're changing, there is an evolution of hoops, not only in terms of shapes, but also in terms of materials. So everything it's happened, the evolution of silhouettes is very strong and it's changing, but this is a very important factor. Competition is determined not so much only on what companies are producing, but also everything is around. So consumer will be very much concerned about more and more about packaging, services, advertising, advice, everything that is around the product. So the presentation of even a core or basic product will have to be as sophisticated as almost whole jewelry. And this is very important key factor going forward. So the concept of augmented product, which is of course not recent, but is being evolved even more, is about the buying experience, the delivery, customer service, side product and service included, so, and this your price factor. Let's talk about the buying experience, which is becoming more digital than ever. Now, Jennifer touched on a very important note, talking about how designers have higher numbers on Instagram when actually doing sales than retailers. This is a very negative factors for retailers, manufacturers, and let's say companies who have not invested online and they are not knowledgeable of online, let's say, communication and synergies. So this is something that actually puts them on a negative, let's say, platform compared to designers, which usually are independent. Most of the time they are natives in terms of technology, and therefore they are ahead of the game. So this is a very interesting time in history, because pandemic has reinforced, in one way has accelerated digitalization, in another way has created a very big discrepancy from with companies and also people and generations and consumer clusters who are not familiar with being social and being online, versus designers and companies that they have the know-how to really be online. So this is going to create a very big change. People that they're doing well, that they've been invested in the past on being online, in communication and skills and all these elements, they are ahead of the game. And so unless this company that they were behind, they are not catching up very quickly, their business will be very much hurt. So rethinking brings the action of redesigning Neocore and the concept of augmented products, which also includes augmented reality. Augmented reality, it is something that AR is being explored very much. I can say that designers, independent designers from India to the States, they are exploring, as in the cosmetic industry, augmented reality and how consumer can try online goods, being present during this, let's say, the quarantine, and keeping the relationship with your clients, but not necessarily the client in terms of sales, but really creating a dialogue and creating and engaging consumers and, let's call it, followers. That's a key factor. So the experiential element will continue to be very strong. Now, redefining new core. So we have identified actually three main, let's say, micro trends in these, let's say, redefinition of Neocore, which are sleek lines, siloless, and digital tech. Now, a very important element I'd like to share with our audience, which is our research is always done both on, like, as with the observatory and also with a lot of web hunting. So I'd like to give you some kind of key element for you to really do also your own research and start like really going into exploring further and being a little bit of an analyst and researcher yourself. We work a lot with hashtags. So hashtags are important in identifying this direction. So in these sleek lines, linear designs, very minimalistic, lightweight, people will be concerned about money spending. It's about, not necessarily about how much it costs, but people is concerned that we buy less, I mean, especially Gen Z is very much careful about money spending. Also, they are jobs makers, and the gig economy, meaning creating, really having small jobs and having short periods of really collaboration. It creates like really small budgets to play with, also with jewelry. So people right in the present and the next few seasons will be seeing a lot of silvers and demi jewelry, let's call it, but people is still very much running to gold. But of course, lightweight pieces, very linear, especially for the everyday piece, they'll be very important. So linearity, lightweight, but also unusual silhouettes. It's not really, it's a new minimalism. Things are mainly asymmetric, mix and match. Jewelry will have to satisfy consumer needs. It's not about the designer anymore, but the designer will need to basically fulfill designer's needs. So, like, I want to make a very, let's say, unusual example. IKEA is being extremely successful because even though they're doing very basic furniture, they are spending time and a lot of research and in design, and their design is really the winning factor of IKEA, despite the fact that they are, let's say, extremely affordable, at times cheap. So basically, design and details, it's crucial for this category of product. And again, linearity, geometry, but very clean lines, circularity, sleek silhouettes, micro chain, everything has to be extremely light. This jewelry can be worn in a yoga class, at the gym. They're everyday jewelry. They're not for special occasions. They're for every day, but there are unexpected designs, unexpected silhouettes. Kinetic jewelry that they transform, that they move, that become kind of a toy. Ear cuff continue to be very strong. Huggies, ear huggies, they're very strong. Let's remember that, you know, matchy, they are no longer in. Consumer are buying individual items that include earrings, and they like to layer different kind of products that could be from basics to let's say more decorated pieces. Styleless, edgy, urban, punk rock, gender fluid. So more and more jewelry are becoming gender fluid. I would say this is the category that is very important to the gender fluid crowd. Unisex, edgy. So things are also a little bit edgy. So even though they are basic, spiky, a little bit like, you know, punk rock, things that they're like, again, they are mainly targeting, of course, a younger audience, but the younger audience includes millennial, which are not today, they are not that young anymore, meaning that their segment is, you know, from 28 to 35, so they are grown compared to Gen Z. Gen Z is very much into practical product. Very often they want to get involved with design. So if you want to be part of the augmented product or augmented reality world, you have to give the chance to consumers to kind of co-design their own pieces. So if you are creating items that can be collected or assembled or styled by the consumer, it is definitely a winning element. Going forward, as you can see, going back to Jennifer's appreciation for pearls also for men. There is not a color. I would say the pearls are a very interesting component. Either they are natural pearls or they are like cultured pearls. They are definitely a design component for both women and men, for the gender fluid crowd. Then is always more cool. So they are no longer associated to grandmother, let's say classic strand of pearls, but they are cool, edgy, and, you know, underground. Again, the circularity, there is a lot of playing with, you know, circles in a very interesting, unusual, and unexpected way. Almost sometimes they're echoing contemporary art where is definitely something that in the world of activism, meaning the consumer that is an activist now more than ever, younger generation being extremely sensitive into what's happening around the globe, from civil rights to environmental issues. Gen Z care about how things are done, how they're produced, if money or part of the money of the, you know, the revenue will be also, let's say, shared to very good causes. So all this is part of the storytelling. So it's not only the design itself, but the world around it. As you can see, safety pin, all these elements that in a way they were coming from the 1980s, but it's not really a coming back, but it's really an evolution. Safety pin worn by women and men, with stones, without stones, malachite being a very popular stones. Many designers these seasons are using malachite green for, you know, those they are not familiar with what Maragas, but also, enamel, like Jennifer was saying, but also resins, but also ceramic and PVD, all like new technologies evolving, unusual combination of leather and diamonds for men. But again, the sky is the limit for material combination. So just stay on the lookout for things that to happen. Arrows and studs being very cool these seasons for men and women. Digital tech, smart tech, neon forever alternative. Now, from black and white, as you can see, being kind of the neutral color for men and women, but also stones with inclusions. Either they are minerals with cut in geometric shapes, but also in other categories, which we'll be covering in multi-rooted next webinar. Basically, everything is very technologically made or cut. So even though they are natural material, this material, they are like cut, but with technology, they're extremely engineered and precise. Again, alternative material, neon, combination of glass, and again, you name it. There is an evolution, I would say, for designers, retailers, innovators, and visionaries, for those who are making the big changes. Be in touch with your with technology evolution, because right now there are unusual combination, and it's part of the smart tech trend in jewelry. Again, following the black and white, but then I want to touch on colors again, going back to what Jennifer Heebner touched on color. Color is something that has been strong for several seasons in different product, let's say, design directions and product categories, with natural gemstones, with alternative material, with titanium. I mean, we've been seeing colored metal becoming more popular, titanium becoming the preferred metal for the whole jewels category and the hot designers. But also here we are seeing the Neocore being colored, mix and match in combination from the US, but also from the UK. So more and more linearity, color in combination with precious element. Just a zoom on detail. So I'd like to basically wrap up my session saying that Neocore is in the phase of evolution and being redesigned. The core, it's not been, let's say, defined yet. I mean, it's in progress. I would say that as an observatory, we are looking at the definitely minimalism and geometry, and what is an evolution of what is being strong as deco forward design is continuing for this category of, let's say, affordable jewelry. So we are not here in the category of collectible or collector pieces or whole jewels. We are here in the category of everyday jewelry. So everyday jewelry or commodity pieces, they are the commodity which are anonymous, will not design, they will be fading out. So this is a very important note that I want to give to the large-scale production manufacturers. Unless we are not together working on redefining core, there could be a closure, there could be a technical element, there could be material, there could be flexible elements, that they are part of the intrinsic value and technology of the piece itself. Engineered components, lightweight, color metal, everything that seems extremely simple has to be an evolution of. The communication of these products has to be engineered at the master level, because from packaging to the way it's displayed online is crucial in order to be successful with product, or else you're not going to cut it, basically. You're not going to make it. So this is a wonderful journey that we started together. Please send your questions and whatever feedback you have based on this session today. We'll be exploring more about Optiminimal in Trend Book 2022, which will be published officially in September coming up. I hand it over to you, David, for questions or whatever. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Paola. That was a lovely presentation. I took a few takeaways from the two presentations, which I'll briefly sum up. In the meantime, though, please do submit questions on the chat function, and we'll pick those up. Among the takeaways, clearly from Jennifer's presentation, the obsession with color continues. And there is also, I would add to that, an increasing interest in the supply chain of color gemstones too, with a strong emphasis on sustainability and a demand from millennial and Gen Z consumers going forward to have a sustainable supply chain for colored gems. Charms, Jennifer refers to charms. Again, obviously, during this dreadfully difficult time of the coronavirus pandemic, people seek emotional reassurance. So it does look as if the outlook for the market for charm jewelry should be relatively strong. Pearls, again, this renaissance of the pearl jewelry continues. I'd love to chat with Jennifer about how she sees say, that the natural pearl market outlook compared with the cultured pearl market outlook. With regard to diamonds, Jennifer's comments about lab-grown diamonds and the future for that segment, this period has interestingly coincided with the repositioning of what used to be the DPA to now the NDC, the Natural Diamond Council. So it'll be very interesting to see what kind of marketing push we will see for natural diamonds and natural diamond jewellery in the months ahead. And then turning on to Paola's presentation, one of the key takeaways for me was this focus on lightweight. And somebody who tracks the markets for precious metals and gemstones, the coronavirus pandemic has coincided with a strong upsurge in the prices of gold and silver. And to me, it's no coincidence that designers and jewelry manufacturers are looking to reduce weight where possible for precious metals. And then the focus on unusual materials and unusual combinations of materials and recycling seems very much in tune with the new technologies, the acceleration of new technologies that we've seen during the coronavirus pandemic period. So let me just see if we have any questions. I don't see any there at the moment. As I said, this is your last call, really. Do submit a question if you would like now. If I could just briefly ask Jennifer, with regard to pearls, Jennifer, which I know is one of your areas of great fascination, what I have seen, say, looking at the auctions market, is how natural pearl jewellery has really flourished in the high-end auctions market. What kind of synergies do you see in sort of between the demand for, if you like, natural pearl jewellery going forward and cultured pearl jewellery?
I think, natural pearls, our product, cultured pearls, are a gateway product to natural pearls. So I think there should be a much stronger relationship between the two industries. Obviously, natural pearls are the rarest of them. They're occurring in nature. And what you're seeing in auction suggests that. Obviously, people place great value on that. So cultured pearls, it's, we are leading to, we help build up that category, the love and affinity for that product, to when, if you start collecting pearls, eventually you collect a lot of them. Naturally, you want to segue into getting the rarest of the category. And that is a natural pearl, be it from Bahrain, be it a conch pearl, a mellow pearl. It's just a natural progression. So we like to see, we're boosting that category in our own way.
Okay, thanks so much. We do have some questions now coming in. So Jennifer, Annie Kachian is asking, in your polling, how many people were polled and from which states?
This is across the United States, and about 100 jewelers responded.
Okay, we have a question from Joya Gatti. May we receive the presentations by email? Paola?
Well, you don't receive a presentation via email, but you can see it again on YouTube. But just go on the TRENDVISION website and you follow all the instructions that will be on YouTube, so you can access to that. Yes.
Okay, there's a question, Paola, for you. I think for both you and Jennifer, from Priyansha Rohilla. If I could ask Paola first and then Jennifer afterwards. What is your view, if you like, on the practicality of augmented reality in terms of triggering sales? Will consumers who are looking to buy jewellery, will they miss out on the fact that they may not be able to touch and hold and feel jewellery in their hands before buying? Paola?
I think that's a legitimate question. I do also think that augmented reality is being introduced already in makeup, for instance, and hair color. And there are people that they are actually trying makeup and eyebrow shape on their on the web. I think that consumer can find fun The fact of trying on earrings and necklaces and pendants and rings online, I think is a nice way to be entertained. I think that there are people, especially digital natives, that they don't have a problem in buying and purchasing online like they do with clothing. I think there is going to be a kind of, again, a phygital kind of reality, in the sense that some people will try online and pick up in the store and touch it. And some people, they just feel comfortable, they will buy, because maybe if they know the brand and they know the designer, they can see if things work for them and they will buy. So I think that, you know, even though I was one of the most conservative, because being a Generation Xers myself, you know, I thought not be possible. Now we discover that then the 45 and 55 are buying online more than millennials. So I think that the barriers is being broken already.
Mm-hmm.
And Jennifer, your thoughts?
Augmented reality, it's a great tool to aid fine jewelry sales. And I'll give you a great example.
Yeah.
I'm a Gen Xer as well. And I've been, there is a vendor who's selling, you know, everybody sells on Instagram. There's a pearl dealer who put up a pair of beautiful pearl earrings, freshwater pearls it was an earring with a jacket that drops down. And I said, I'd like to buy a pair. And it would be great. And she told me all the sizes. You know, the biggest size was like a 13 millimeter for a drop. Another's I think it was 12, 13, 12, and 11. And I thought, wow, I think the 13 millimeter would be too big for a look. But if I could use augmented reality, I could actually have a better idea of how big the pearls are going to look on my ear. So I already know I love the look of the product. I love the color, but augmented reality in this situation would be very helpful in helping me make a determination of which pair I'd like to buy.
Yeah, thanks so much. There's a question for Jennifer, I think primarily, from Semrezu Erdogan. Do you think this color trend will be just for this summer period, or will it be all year and beyond?
Oh, definitely all year and beyond. It's been trending for years. We've seen enamel, a lot of enamel, resin, as Paola mentioned, CVD coating. So all these fun, different ways to add color to your jewelry without gemstones or enhancing the gemstones. We've seen that very strong for the past 3 years. It's just going to continue. It's going to evolve and continue, and more designers are going to play with it. And the bigger manufacturers, typically later to the game, they look and see what the high-end designers do, and then they, jump on the bandwagon a few years later with their own mass market interpretations. So that's what we're going to see.
And presumably, Jennifer, sorry, just to follow up with Jennifer, presumably because of the gravity of this period through which we're all living, consumers, they want to bring some joy back into their lives, don't they? And color is one way to do that.
Absolutely. And also, I think it's super important for us jewelry people. No one's traveling. That's our biggest competitor for discretionary dollars. No one's traveling. I mean, myself, usually I'm from January to June, I'm on the road, I'm traveling an awful lot. Well, now, obviously, I've been home like we all have. Well, I'm not spending that money on travel, so I'm looking to buy more jewelry. Thank God my husband is left for the day, so he's not going to know what I'm doing, but I have that money to spend. It's not going to travel, so I can buy more jewelry. Yeah. I think that's going to be true for a lot of people.
Yeah. Paola, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to reinforce the color. I mean, color has been strong for several seasons, and it's not only in gemstones, but it's also in metal. Colored metal is being strong. I was mentioning titanium, but also gold. For instance, rose gold coming strong in the fall and also next season, also with minimal silhouettes. So color, it is actually reflecting consumers' mood. That could be the joyful or something else, but definitely color, it is part of the, being strong, not only with gemstones, but, also the colored metal. That's it. And let's not forget that the world is very big. So in some countries, maybe they may be more conservative with black and white, but from north to the south of the world, people likes to wear color. And again, it's The blue metal, it's been very strong. Many designers have done neon blue metal titanium, from Stephen Webster to Lydia Courteil, just to name a couple.
Yeah, and there have been some very interesting new alloys that have been developed, different combinations of metals yielding different colors.
Exactly.
Very interesting question from Pradium Malu, who is asking the panelists, what are your views about the outlook for silver diamond jewellery in the future? I guess this alludes again to the fact that gold prices and indeed silver prices have been surging during this period. I mean, gold prices around 8-year highs, really strong at the moment. And this is, presumably, creating new opportunities for silver jewellery sales. And increasingly people are talking about combining diamonds with silver. So Jennifer, what are your views on the outlook for silver diamond jewellery?
I think the trend's gonna continue. It's been a category for a long, long time. It's not going anywhere. And if you like jewelry, most women do. And if the price of gold is very high. If you can't afford a gold option, silver, silver is your next best bet. So Vermeil products, sterling silver only with diamonds. I think it's a great option. It's a great price point option for the retail jeweler, and for the consumer who can't get gold. It's only going to continue in strength.
Paola, any thoughts?
Well, I'm basically reinforcing what Jennifer said. I mean, sterling silver and diamonds has been around for a long time. I mean, David Yurman being the highlight of the trend starting in the 1990s in the United States. Sterling silver with gold accents and gemstones, including diamonds. So it's been around for a long time. It's nothing new, people. Right now, I would say that with the economic crisis, everything is the alternative material I mentioned earlier, demi jewelry, meaning semi-precious material combined with precious material. I would say also there is copper metal. There are alternative material, including metals and new alloy that will be strong, and they're strong. Sterling silver definitely will be, it is actually strong, especially with fashion pieces more than others, and it will be in combination with either gold and or gemstone and or diamonds. Actually, I would like to touch a note on diamonds before that I forgot. Right now I'm talking about natural diamonds. Natural diamonds have been more and more used, either like, we did like an event together, David, what is the future of diamonds? Not only there is kind of an interesting debate between, let's say, and dialogue starting between lab-grown and natural diamonds, but I would say that natural diamonds, they are evolving. They are like positioning in the fine jewelry world, being also uncut and rough, and with inclusion and salt and pepper and colored diamonds used in sliced. I would say that Indian heritage as great example of how to position and use diamonds in alternative ways. There is a new wave of Indian jewelry designers, but not only, that they are using diamonds in inspiring ways for designers all over the world. I think the best is yet to come for diamonds and natural diamonds. I think, and I actually advise the DPA to give more space to designer and R&D investment in terms of research and design and development, because I think that we need to inspire the market. The diamond industry cannot just be the bridal categories or the whole jewels. I think that really investing money into craftsmanship, heritage in different parts of the world, and the use of diamond that come from many centuries prior, like India is incredible heritage, not only India, but mostly India. I think there is a lot to do. And last note about diamonds, I think that they should be talking more online with the consumer language, with the Gen Z and millennial language. Diamond cannot be only presented for the elite and for limited categories like bridal or high-end jewelry. I think that diamond should become more gender fluid, and the communication should be more consumer friendly online, because that's the people that will buy jewelry and of course diamonds.
David, may I add to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just reinforcing what Paola said, I think the greatest opportunity diamonds have are in the rustic category. So salt and pepper, the brown diamonds. I mean, Vivian really capitalized on that, 15 years ago with their chocolate diamond campaign. But rustic diamonds, they're beautiful. They're all one of a kind. And it offers a great way to get into a price point, to get into the diamond category. So huge opportunity for designers, for retailers who stop turning their nose up at the rustics, because consumers do love them. You just have to explain what they are. They're not colorless, but they've got character. So those can be sold if they're sold properly, priced properly for what they are. It's a great opportunity for the market.
Okay.
Last note, there is a very strong, an underground of designers that they're using diamonds in a very interesting way. People, they call it liver diamonds, liver pavé, very interesting and unusual. So I would really scout into this, underground culture and with the use of diamonds. Sorry, David.
Yeah, just to follow up with both of you, if I may, starting with Jennifer. The Natural Diamond Council launched in early June, repositioning the message for natural diamonds, following the work of the Diamond Producers Association. I mean, if you were to give your view, Jennifer, your message, if you like, to the Natural Diamond Council as to what you think should be the thrust of their messaging to promote sales of natural diamond jewelry around the world over the next few years, what would it be?
That's a big question. I think they should just continue. They should educate the consumer on the different options available to them within the natural or mined diamond category. The education is key to people better understanding and appreciating, growing a collection. The more people understand, then the more apt they are to purchase in our category. So continue the education. Don't, shy away from the rustic diamond category. Just acknowledge it. Teach people the difference, and then they have a whole array of options to get into the category. So education.
Paola, any quick thoughts on this? What would you say to the NDC?
I would basically, of course, I'm agreeing to what Jennifer said. I would definitely educate the consumer with, showing what diamonds are about, and not necessarily focusing on the white perfect diamonds, but all the alternative and all the beauty of these wonderful natural stones, being unique, even with the inclusion, and what was once the imperfection being the perfection because of the uniqueness, because it also reflects today's societies and consumers. We are beautiful for whatever color, shape, or whatever we are. So I think diamonds are reflecting consumer diversity. That's number one. And another very important point is, I think that they should be communicating more online in a less corporate way. I think that the corporate communication too general, that it is not talking to consumer hearts in an industrialized, formatted way, it's time. I mean, I think right now, from gender fluid, world and everything it's happening around, I think diamonds should be closer to people and to the new consumers, which is edgy, different, unique. They want to speak up their differences, and diamond should reflect that. Should not just only link to perfection, to bridal, and everything has to be, again, perfect. Has to become more human, and let's call it imperfect. Imperfection, perfection of the imperfection. I want to see the global advertising for diamonds, on Instagram with the cool communication with kids of every cultural background, color, everything. They should be diverse and should promote the diversity of diamonds.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, Paola. Diversity is such a, it's such a hot button issue right now, what's going on in the world. Diamonds should, celebrate that, the diversity of diamonds, just as we're celebrating the diversity of the human population.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good point.
Yeah, but really passionate answers from both of you there. I really appreciate that. We've got two more questions, and then we're going to have to wrap because we're slightly over time. But I think they're both very good questions from Cedric Davot and Hala Baradaran Gavami. I'm going to go with the question from Hala Baradaran Gavami first. Could the panelists explain a little bit more about the importance of sustainability in jewellery over the years to come? This is a really important question because in everything that I'm reporting on around this industry, if anything, the importance of sustainability is even more to the fore in the minds of consumers, particularly millennial and Gen Z consumers. So starting with Jennifer, what are your thoughts about how important sustainability will be in the minds of jewellery designers in the months and years ahead, and what kind of changes we're going to see in terms of the demands upon sustainability, and what kind of pressures we're going to see on miners and manufacturers right along the supply chain to sharpen up their acts in terms of sustainable supply chain and production.
Well, sustainability is incredibly important in our industry. It's important for the up and coming generations of consumers, millennials, Gen Z. They care about that. So smart companies like Chopard, established years ago, they're using only sustainably mined gold for their collections. That's, usually we see the leading companies of the world establish their, footprints first. So they have done that, setting the pace for everyone else to follow. So, and a lot of independent jewelry designers across the United States, across the world, have been working with sustainably sourced or recycled gold, recycled silver. So that trend is only going to continue. And especially because the up and coming generations, they expect that. They want to know if they're spending a lot of money on something like a product that's not a necessity like jewelry, they want to know that it's the money is going to benefit the folks at the source. So it's only going to continue to grow in importance, and it should become a natural part of your conversation for retailers, for designers. It should just be something else that you talk to with the consumer about at the time of purchase, that we care about where our materials come from. We care that people at the source are properly paid. They're cared for, their health care for the workers in the mines is taken care of. So this should be a natural part of everybody's conversations moving forward.
Right, thanks for that. Paola?
Well, I have to basically reinforce what Jennifer said. Luxury today is also is about feeling good, and feeling good is also being part of helping a community. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, which actually we had a little bit of a strong dialogue, because he was like, well, things should be, if you sell it at $480 or $185, you can buy it for $18, $20. I think that sustainability is not only, it is about the material where it's coming from, but it's important how we are supporting the community. And it's very critical time in history. We have to care about Black Lives Matter and Lives Matter in general, meaning we have to care about the Indian workers that they were fired and they walked to their villages because there is a limited, there is like right now diamonds rough are being limited, and so in the export and in importing and the exporting of the goods. So our presence, our purchasing, the way we are doing business is helping people all over the world, and it's very important to be ethical. And in general, we cannot just be ethical, but it's important to be ethical about the environment, but it's also about in the climate, but it's important to be ethical about helping the community. So sustainability means helping workers in the United States, helping workers in remote countries where they are, facing more, economic difficulty. There could be Africa, there could be India, there could be South America, or everywhere in the world. So we have to be, and I think we have to be more transparent the way we produce jewelry, we sell. So the RJC is doing a great job. You know that very well, David, because you've been involved with them. And but in general, regardless of the big organization and corporation, of Gen Z and millennial, they care because they have to care more than everybody. Not because we don't care, but we are old in a way. What are we leaving behind? Are we leaving a planet that is compromised? Are we living a society where there is big discrepancy in terms of wealth? So luxury, it's about feeling good. Make me feel good, and make me feel good is being part of something bigger with an holistic approach to life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me go real quick. I'd like to add that yes, sustainability is about taking care of people, the sources where our raw materials come from. But as Paola said, it also means your local community. So it also means paying a living wage to those around you. So it's not just make sure, make sure everyone is taken care of at the sources where they're doing, the hard work, but also, make sure that, you're paying your own employees a living wage, something that that speaks to it too. It's not just far away. It's at home. It should start at home and continue, far away.
Absolutely.
Products.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thanks for that. I was lucky enough to have listened to the UN Global Compact Leadership Summit recently, which was a virtual summit. The message is very clear that if all of those along the supply chain, from mining, say, gemstones, all the way to the jewelry on one's finger, can be paid a decent amount of consideration for their labor, then the livelihood of millions of people around the world will be improved. And the encouraging thing is that the companies, the miners and the big jewelry houses, they are getting this message. It is coming across clearly now, and they are all moving clearly towards greater sustainability in the industry. And certainly organizations like the Responsible Jewelry Council and CIBJO, the World Jewelry Confederation, which have sort of key roles of oversight for standards right across the global industry, they are pushing this message hard. So one last question before we go. I'm going to combine a couple of questions from Cedric Darvaux, who is making essentially one point in his question. He's asking, given the very expensive cost of gold now, are we likely to see lesser purity of gold, say more like 9 carat or 10 carat in gold jewelry creations going forward? And is also asking, due to the high cost of precious materials, can this in some way benefit the costume jewelry market? Is this going to have an impact on boosting sales of costume jewelry and fashion jewelry? Firstly, Jennifer.
I don't think, in the United States, it's 14 karat gold, it's 18 karat gold up in fine jewelry stores. Our market, 9 karat gold is really not a thing. 10 karat gold, a little bit in the chain stores, in the Walmarts, those places. It's a different customer. So we're not going to see an explosion of that. It's not in the States. And as far as an explosion of costume sales, yeah, I mean, I don't know that I'd say an explosion. It's a different, it's a different shopper.
Could I ask you in another way? I mean, given the severity of the global economic downturn that we're now experiencing, obviously some consumers are going to be very wary about how they spend money, and they're going to think twice about luxury purchases. And certainly, obviously at the very top end of the wealthiest people, they're almost immune. and we've already seen at the high end of the market very strong demand for really exquisite antique jewelry pieces in Sotheby's and Christie's auctions. But for those in the middle with middle income, how are they going to change the way they approach in their psychology purchasing decisions towards jewelry? Jennifer.
If somebody wants a treat and they want an accessory, they can't afford the gold, then, maybe for them it would be a costume purchase. I don't really deal much in the costume world or talk to those consumers, but it could be an option. So I'm afraid I don't have a better answer for you.
Paola, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think we started this answer like earlier when we said that demi jewelry will be stronger and they are growing. I don't like even in Europe, except for the United Kingdom. The rest of Europe, there is not 14K. Actually, there is only 18K, and in some, of course, community, because we have also, there is a multi-ethnic society nowadays. Also, Europe, some people will purchase 24 karat gold because they have Chinese heritage or African heritage. So I would see that in Europe is 18 karat, 24 karat mainly, except for for England, they use 9K and so on, because it's part of the tradition. So I would say the gold remain, let's say, a category with some kind of heritage and meaning. So regardless of the design that could be more or less contemporary, gold has a very clear positioning and identity, versus the world of fashion jewelry, which can be incorporated also in the demi, and also I would say in the sterling silver pieces. So whatever is sterling and demi jewelry, meaning semi-precious material combined together, could be a mix of wood and gold or sterling and copper and other material. I think that the fashionistas already are wearing mix and matching custom jewelry like I am with fine jewelry. So it's like the new consumer is what I call siloless, and by siloless has no border. I mean, we mix and matching diamonds and fashion jewelry pieces to express who we are. So the medium, it's really like not necessarily a limit, actually is an opportunity. So let's not forget the custom jewelry at times is more expensive than a gold piece, because custom jewelry can range from a minimum of $50 or $20 or euros, and could rise up to 1,000 euros. I mean, or like whatever. So custom jewelry is very expensive. It depends what kind of custom jewelry. I would say that the fashionistas, or let's call it people that are very much into fashion statement, they mix and match anything. They always done it, and maybe more. During the next few seasons, people will buy more if they want to make a statement. Semi-precious pieces that could include sterling silver and or other alternative material in combination with gold or not.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Paola. I'd like to thank both speakers today very much indeed for giving their really fabulous presentations, very wide-ranging, and also we had such good quality questions that I just had to keep going because they had to be answered, and they were answered very well by our speakers today. So the team are working on the trend book for 2022. It's going to be presented at the September Vicenza Oro event. This is the Vicenza Oro International Community event, the Voice event that will take place in Vicenza between the 12th and the 14th of September. You've had a few teasers today from Paola about some of the contents of the 2022 trend book. We're working very hard at this now. The world is clearly very different to the way it was. The mindset of consumers is changing. The mindset of companies is changing, as we've discussed and heard today with our talk about sustainability. So thank you again so much, and do join us at our next webinar on the 3rd of August, the next Trend Vision webinar entitled Multi-Rooted. Until then, stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.